Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into some really fascinating research around cervical cancer. We're going to explore how, beyond the standard treatments we all know about, science is starting to uncover some pretty surprising weaknesses, vulnerabilities that could potentially change how we approach care. So let's see what the data is telling us.
So let's just start with this big idea. What if cancer isn't just this monolithic fortress we have to throw everything at? What if it has these surprising, subtle weaknesses that we're just now learning how to target? What if improving outcomes isn't just about stronger treatments, but smarter ones?
Okay, before we go a single step further, I have to make something crystal clear. This is not medical advice. Please, think of this explainer as a resource, like a bridge that connects you to published research. The whole point is to arm you with information so you can have a really productive, informed conversation with your oncologist. That's it.
We're kind of on a quest here, a quest for more information, more understanding, and, more potential allies in this fight. The goal is to see what the research says about supporting a patient's main treatment plan, never ever replacing it.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by doing a deep dive into two really powerful and specific examples from the research. After that, we'll zoom out a bit to look at the bigger picture and talk about how all this information can be so empowering. All right, our first surprising ally is a mineral you've absolutely heard of, zinc. But what's new and what's so compelling is the powerful connection researchers are now seeing between zinc levels and cervical cancer outcomes.
In science, sometimes the biggest discoveries start with just noticing a pattern. And in one study, that's exactly what happened. Researchers spotted this really troubling trend. Among patients whose cancer had come back, zinc deficiency was, incredibly common. This wasn't just a small coincidence. It was a huge signal that they really had to investigate further.
So, just how strong was that signal? Get this. The researchers found that patients who had a recurrence of their cancer were 4.8 times more likely to be deficient in zinc. That's nearly 5 times the likelihood. That's a number that really makes you stop and think, right?
And this connection to zinc seems to have a direct and pretty dramatic impact on outcomes. If you look at the 5-year overall survival rates from the study, for patients who had enough zinc, it was 35%. But for those who were deficient, it dropped all the way down to just 10%. The difference is just, it's stark. Now, this data wasn't just an interesting finding they buried in the paper. It led the researchers to this really powerful conclusion. And I'm quoting them directly here. They said, "Gynecologic oncologists should actively measure serum zinc concentrations to improve prognosis and maintain quality of life." That is a clear call to action coming straight from the people who did the work.
Okay, next up, we're going to shift gears from a mineral to a type of medication that is incredibly common, statins. By digging into patient records, researchers found this really compelling link between these cholesterol-lowering drugs and the progression of cervical cancer.
And here is the data that just jumped out at them. Okay, after a 3-year follow-up, let's look at progression-free survival. That just means the cancer didn't get any worse. For statin users, it was almost 93%. For non-users, just 58%. And the gap in overall survival was huge, too. Again, almost 93% for statin users compared to about 71% for non-users. Pretty significant.
Now, the study was specific. It noted these benefits were seen in patients taking a particular kind of statin called lipophilic statins. The simple way to think about them is that they're able to get inside of cells more easily. And here's a little interesting tidbit from a research perspective. The very first statin, loastatin, is actually a natural compound that comes from red yeast rice.
So zinc and statins are fascinating, right? But they're really just two pieces of a much, much bigger puzzle. The whole field of this kind of supportive oncology research is huge, and it's exploring a whole range of potential allies that could work right alongside standard medical treatments.
And this research, it just spreads out in so many directions. For example, some studies are looking at whether high-dose selenium might have a protective effect. Low-dose aspirin is being investigated for its anti-inflammatory properties. Even things like botanicals, like astragalus, and compounds from mushrooms called beta-glucans are being studied for their potential to support the immune system. The big takeaway here isn't any single magic bullet. It's that science is tackling this from so many different angles.
Okay, so we've looked at all this cool research. But what's the next step? What do you do with it? Well, the goal is definitely not to self-prescribe based on a video. The goal is to turn this knowledge into real empowerment, so you can become a truly informed partner in your own healthcare. And it really comes down to this simple 3-step process. First, explore the research for yourself. Dig a little deeper. Second, figure out which questions are actually relevant to your specific situation. And third, and this is the most important one, partner with your oncologist. Use what you've learned to start a conversation and make decisions together.
And that kind of brings us to our final thought for today. Just imagine, what could the future of cancer care look like if every single patient felt this empowered? If every patient could bring this level of informed curiosity to their doctor's office? What kind of new possibilities might open up? It's a powerful thing to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.